Welcome to the Heritage Gallery, located here in the basement of the 102-year-old building, the school, at 580 Central Avenue in Ste Rose, Manitoba, Canada. My name is Elvira Burnell, and I'd like to give you a tour and highlight some points of interest. So we gather here in this area of the rendezvous, and we are greeted here by two Red Hat Society women, ladies that have been created by Alphonsine Kohler, one of our local artists. And here in this gathering space, we share stories, we read, and we remember events of the past with a cup of coffee and tea and with a petit goûter at times. So this area it includes the movie theater scene, which was a main attraction for many. It was situated on the main street and later sold and moved to Eddystone. And its present owner, Ivan Whirl, asked to have it displayed here. Posters featuring the movies seen at the time. And this was created in old frames that actually, I believe, our cameraman, Robert Whirl, gave us. And this is near the lift, which enables people to enter this way if the stairs are a challenge for some of you. Yep. This art is of modern day points of interest of Main Street and area, which the artist created during this pandemic. And here we have a collection of items, photo albums that belong to the Knights of Columbus, the Green Nun Associates, Ste Rose General Hospital, Green Nuns, and we have photos of the Jacob family and photos of the old school part of the carnivals and festivals they had here. This collage we have on the door of the Newsies from the past features news from the past, a way of sharing some articles collected from the newspapers. And so we have the Broadview, Ste Rose Recorder, Turtle River Times, Ste Rose Journal, Ste Rose Roundup, and it has changed over time, and the Dauphin Herald is all part of this. And we have featured Rene Jacob, because he was one of the newspaper boys along with his brother Emil. And they delivered newspapers around town, plus a lot of young boys were delivering newspapers. So we put this together to remember some of the stories that took place. So we start this journey in time with some paintings that a local artist made based on photos taken in the community in the 1900s, and she replicated them for us. And we are located in Treaty 2 area and part of the Ste Rose municipality. And here's a map that was revised of the municipality. It was revised in 1990. And this railroad track here that was created replicates the railroad track of the 1900s, between 1910 and 1921, and that came from Oka River up to Meffley, Rorketon, and that was the end of the line there. And here we have a piece of art from a railroad tie that was put together by an artist and from Swan River. And it's a piece that joins the indigenous people and the settlers and some of the issues regarding that, and I call it a sign of truth and reconciliation. And as one of the settlers that came was my great-grandfather, and he was a doctor at this time, and this is his doctor bag and his hat. And here we journey through time, and we have a great collection of photos that have been put here to display times, and we have a particular one of great interest, and it was a discovery to me. There is a great piece of history here in this photo. It's a riverboat on the Turtle River and the end of the 1800s. So there were several modes of transportation as we journeyed through time. We had the oxen, the horses, the riverboat, the railroad, the bicycles, the old Model A cars, and wagons. And here we have a sign, and was from the Dufo, and then the World's got this from B&A. And this is the school. This has been taken down, and we treasure that piece, and we were wanting to incorporate it here. Now we visit the church area because the church had a big impact on our history in St. Rose and areas. And this point of interest gives a small glimpse of the development of the parish and religious influence on the people. And some of these holy cards belong to my grandparents, my parents, myself, as there was a practice of handing out religious cards for special celebrations of the sacraments and recognition of achievements. And various religious communities such as the Grey Nuns, the Sisters of the Missions, the Oblates were influential and co-creators with the settlers. And some families had sons and daughters respond to a religious vocation call, like our local Father Armand Legal is one of them that everybody loves. Now, as one of the sacraments celebrated, we have a bride here and for the wedding. And I'm pleased to have my wedding dress of 52 years displayed on a mannequin from the former Farag department store. Romelda was kind enough to lend us this mannequin, and we fixed her up and dressed her up. And then we have the bridesmaid, his portrait here is a piece of art of mixed media. And one of the vintage dresses of the 50s belonged to my mother, Yvonne Himpy Bayos. And so we also call these the mothers of the bride. So we have Yvonne and we have Frazee here. And some of the beautiful hats and umbrellas and things that they love to wear. All in preparation of a wedding and socials as we go into this area called the social. Following the wedding, we have music, dance, and here we have a beautiful piece that our cameraman, Robert Whirl, has lent us, and we have records that were given to us, and we have a display here of art that was made, silhouettes, people dancing, jiving, polka, and it's all in, we're imagining right now, Magnet Hall. a sign that has come from the hall from Magnet, Manitoba. And we've decorated the back of the theater sign with music notes for this special occasion. We have local artists also here that we're featuring is Albert Lariviere. He's more modern, but he lives in this community, and he has a studio of his own, and we are very proud of what Albert provides here for music, along with some of the world's Kyle, I believe. And so we featured Albert in this area for music and social. So we're moving to some of ancestral roots, and here we visit Belgium and France. And Wevelgem is a Flemish part of Flanders. Wevelgem is the town where my mother came from, but also the Verrais came from, and Petilians, De Berkelers, Lepers, Peters. And so these are some of the families that came from Belgium, and they were famous for their pieces of lace and their embroidery and their art. And this is a windmill that my mother would talk about a lot just down the street. So here we have the Verrais emblem and our famous mannequin pits from Belgium. If you go to Brussels, this boy saved the city of Brussels because he peed to put out a fire. That's a little story behind that one. And we have the sewing machine of my grandmother's, and 4-H was a big part of our sewing, and we all learned how to sew patterns and this 4-H things here, and some items of embroidery. And we go on to France. And here is a very old linen cloth map that was in our home, and that belonged to great-grandfather and grandfather because they originated from the northern France, Édin, Pas-de-Calais area. And the spinning wheel is a family heirloom, and my grandfather knitted socks on a knitting machine for all family members. And here are some of the records that he has with patterns, and I even found a little page that included my name and what size and how many stitches to make socks for me. And we visited the area, and this is the area of Pas-de-Calais, and my family was involved in the architect work for this area, the square, and the chalet, the chateau. And this is a Le Breton pattern for France on my husband's side of the family. So we linking this, I just want to refer to the country school. So this country school that we're focusing on, because this is attached to France, because the name of this school, we're featuring the Verdun School in particular. And we are in the school here in Ste Rose, where I didn't attend as a student. I did attend as a student, but I also was a teacher in this school, and some of these are my students, especially in this area right here, and these are my classes, and this was a grade 7 and 8 class in this building. But that school Verdun where we're talking about was connected to the French school, French town in France where the battle was won. And so this country school was in 1899 and it ran to 1960. And it was first called Crooked River School, and then they changed the name to Verdun because of the victory of the battle. And we have several country rural schools that we have history on that you can look at. And basically this has this is what you would typically see in one-room country school. And it was grades 1 to 8. And this school register was of 1945. And we have school bell. Maybe you like the sound. And we had the strap over there behind the teacher. And the globe and maps are all part of what you would see in the school. And here we have the teachers' names that were teaching at the time when I was in this school. So we have my grandmother's glasses on this mannequin here that comes from the Malgat store, basically. And so we have the science book that I used to use. So this represents our rural school. We're in a room where women's work is never done. And here's a very compact area depicting how resourceful, hardworking women were in the home. And this piece of art of the storyteller, Madeleine, made by my friend Jermaine Jacob, who has worked with me on this project. And Madeleine is looking in, and she can report that a woman's work is never done. The women baked bread, pies, bannock. They did canning. And here we have Alphonsine washing clothes and hanging them on the clothesline to dry. She irons and looks at all the diapers and the baby clothes hanging up there. And she has time to even admire the flowers in her garden and take care of that. So here we have various old items that were found in the home where the women worked. So we're moving to the agriculture. So our sign of agriculture. One of the interest points here is agriculture in our area, because that was a very kind of foundational, important aspect of coming to this area. And we have a flail used by our European settlers as they arrived here. And one of the youth in our community took great interest in this piece, and she did a research on the flail as it was part of the family collection. And here's the result of her research and her drawing to depict that as a project for this heritage gallery. Sophie helped me in this display. And from the flail to this modern day photo canvas of the grandchildren, taken this fall during the harvest time, and they're going to spend time with their dad on the combine after delivering the hot meals on wheels. And we have the Reaper and the Angelus prints donated here by Barry Talpash, our local store owner. The team of horses are sporting homemade harnesses made by Uncle Rennie Lepin, and they're on loan by his nephew Jim Powney from Lockport. Jim was born here, and Emil and Rennie lived around here in Valpoy area. The foot warmer and grindstones were all part of the family farm areas, and we have the grain growers were very active in here, the agriculture society, and different items that have been collected over time, let alone, you know, people who went to Aggie School, University, and let's not forget the whiskey jugs here. That made part of the home brew that was happening in some homes. And we're moving along now to the area of sports. And this is takes us to another point of interest where we have Paper's Wall of Fame. And the Paper here we're referring to is Emil Jacob. He's visiting us today here in this gallery. And he has devoted years of service to sports. You can read articles on sports and achievements by the local sports enthusiasts. And some of the sports include curling, where Mrs. Jacob was very, very active in it, and so were my in-laws and my husband. There was hockey, skating, ball, and of which Mr. Jacob umpire's gear is on display in this section. So sports activities remain very popular in our community, and Jermaine and Emil Jacob helped create this sports area for people to visit and remember their fun times. So here we are in the Chambre de Mademoiselle Berthe Didion. And it holds the homecoming quilt that belongs to the municipality of Ste Rose. And this homecoming was held in 1992. And the families were asked to submit a square, embroidery square, and was quilted by the people for this community quilt. And it's an honor to have this homecoming quilt in the gallery. And the Didion family came to this area in the beginning of the settlement, and Beth, who we've named this room after, she was a nurse. And these were her shoes that she wore, these old shoes. And the baby items, clothes that were made were handmade, and they were part of the Granger, Didion, Abraham, Bayos family. And we have them on display here in a very unique way, utilizing some other things that we have. And some local artists show their amazing talent of sketches of children in our area. And here are some actual black and white photos of the Thibert family members. As we said earlier, that crocheting was part of the heritage. I collaged some doilies here that were made by my mom and my mother as a way of preserving them as a piece of art. And in this room we have our trunk, quilts again, And we have a special piece here, and that is a bed, an old bed that opened up, and it's wired. And my grandfather used to take a nap on it. And this was feathered down with goose feather downs my grandmother made, and this liquid embroidery that my mother made. So we have a lot of little items that were part of the collection from the family and some friends. We even have Miss Mademoiselle Betty Jones' bank account book on her counter there, and some jewelry and some embroidery. Okay, so this is the Métis culture wall, Métis wall. So we have all this section would be there. So Métis culture is a point of interest here. Family names such as the Nose, Spence, Thibers, Laquette were common. And here we have this wall featuring the pride of the Métis heritage. And these family photos belong to Anna Miller Pinette, who has displayed them on loan to depict this important piece of history. There are items such as the Métis sashes that belong to Emil Jacob, Paul Brunel, because their heritage was part of the Métis. This is Ambroise Lepine, great-grandfather who fought in the rebellion, with the rebellion. And we have a fiddler. We can't not think about Métis culture without a fiddle. And so this piece of art was put forth for the fiddling and the violins that were heard, and people rejoiced. It was how they kept themselves happy and community building. Okay. Yeah. I have named this larger living space here as the homestead. And there are some items here that certainly come from my family homestead, but many also come from other people's homes. So I hope this room brings back memories you may have of your own home. And we do have visitors here in the homestead. And these are really been my helpers throughout this setting up of the Heritage Gallery. So thank you for joining us at the homestead today. So most of the houses didn't have running water, but most had a wash basin on a stand. It may even have looked like this one. And here we have the picture of the homestead situated near the Turtle River, and with a canvas painting of the swinging bridge, painted by a famous artist of that era, Monsieur David. Some of his paintings can still be found in some homes in Ste Rose. And this cabinet here that Emil's just sitting beside there, and is very meaningful to my family, as the wood was planed. It came from the Riding Mountain. The logs were hauled out of the Riding Mountain and was planed, and my grandfather built that piece of furniture where I like to, display some of the collections that we have. And at that time it was called the Bibliothèque, and it held all his education books on medicine, agriculture, and history. And another special piece right here is the hooked rug from Mackinac that I obtained from Mr. Bill Mason's auction sale. And he told me that our grandmothers made this carpet for the church in Mackinac. So I just invite you to look around this room and see more interesting items that may bring back memories. And here we have a piece of made by an artisan, Aline Chaput. She refurbished those windows, Robert, that you got from my parents' house and your house, and she refurbished that and put a scene of the Turtle River behind it, because that's what we looked at from our windows at home. And we'd like you to take notice of the unique border around the room. We came up with the idea of designing this made out of paper toilet rolls. Obviously, there was no shortage of toilet paper rolls, especially during this COVID pandemic. So we reused, and we know that in homesteads, they used what they had to create something beautiful. There's other items around here. Actually, these, Jermaine and Paul are sitting at the table, Robert, that your parents had in their home, in your home. And it was given to the Knights of Columbus, and from that point it came to studio, and here it is in the gallery. There's other items around. So our final point of interest here, takes us to the present time. And we have a wall of justice featuring different topics. And here are some few photos of some family veterans. There's the Jacobs, the Himpees, the Burnells, and there's much more focus on veterans outside of this building, where we have the names of people who have served over time. We've created art out of compassion for the missing and murdered women and girls, and a billboard on the Black Lives Matter during this challenging time in history. And our latest piece of art added is See No Stranger. And if you take a close look at that piece, you will see that we're all connected and we have roots, and we are all one, and we do affect one another. There's also a selection of books, portraits here, and stories that we found meaningful and we wanted to share with the public. There's also, we have concern of the environment and attention to Mother Earth, the environment, including our mascot, the bear, who fills us with courage and bravery to face this difficult time of pandemic. And as we have displayed our pieces of art, and their faces are covered with masks to support the prevention and spread of the coronavirus. And we also want to thank the essential workers for all that they have done during this time to protect us and to keep us with what is needed essentially. And we have some bear facts here. about COVID-19, and so as part of our history. And we just like to thank everyone who has contributed and the helpers like creating this heritage gallery.
This typewriter.
Yes, that's right. And we have a guest book here too, so. And the lockdown has certainly allotted time to create. And we had a blessing of the gallery here, and we are videotaping today. And we are limited to the number of people who can be present, as we are respecting the guidelines. We've created this pamphlet, and as a memory, piece of memory. And all this can be changed over time. Family members can want to maybe focus on a wall and make some changes. So the Heritage Gallery is here in the basement, and we have 3 entry points. And so we invite you to come, see and discover and remember and share stories. And there are various themes here displaying collectibles. And take a few minutes or an hour to come and come back as often as you want. Things change when new items are shared, and thank you to everyone who has contributed to this point. So merci.